Next up, under communications, and this is a big presentation. Many people have been waiting for this. This is the opportunity we get to begin the process of doing arguably the most important role of Oakland County government, this Board of Commissioners. This begins the process of the budget hearing for the next 3 years. And so I will call on County Executive Dave Coulter to provide his recommended budget overview and then introduce all the members of the team. So, Mr. Executive, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. I think you've all got the budget in front of you, so you got some summer reading to do. Good luck with that. And I agree, Mr. Chairman. I think it is probably the most important thing that we all do together. I'm really happy to be here with you tonight as part of this process and to present to you 710 pages of my administration's proposed 3-year balanced budget to begin on October the 1st. You know, at their core, budgets aren't just numbers. They're really about people. At least that's the way I look at them. They're about our residents and our businesses, our communities and our employees, and how best to serve their needs and give them the tools that they need to succeed and thrive in Oakland County. I truly am honored to work with all of you. You know, I've said before, I've been on the commission, so I understand the importance of your role, and as well as the other countywide elected officials who have all had a role in helping to shape this budget in a bipartisan fashion to achieve the goals and prepare a budget that meets our shared responsibility to the residents of Oakland County, making sure that Oakland County remains the premier place to live and do business, right? So I think there's many things in this budget that I'm proud of, but one of the most significant for me that I want to mention right up front is that we've officially ended the practice of planning to use our fund balance for operating expenses. This budget represents a true spending plan that is structurally balanced and includes no transfers from the rainy day fund to fill any operational budget holes. Now, it's also a plan that supports initiatives, partly through the generosity of the American Rescue Plan, thank goodness, that's going to help our county, as I like to say, always move forward and improve the lives of our residents. It's a plan that leans into the 7 goals that I identified earlier this year at the State of the County address. These goals focus on the health and success of our residents and our businesses and make sure that we have livable neighborhoods and communities that are environmentally sustainable, inclusive and welcoming for everybody. It's also a plan, by the way, that invests in all our employees during these challenging economic times with a proposed 5% pay increase, which will help ensure that we keep our competitive and talented workforce here in Oakland County. Finally, I just want to mention, I'm proud of this as well, that this budget brings an unprecedented level of transparency and accountability to you and the general public. Are we having an issue there? Yep, we just need to, okay. To you and to the general public. Each of the county's departments have developed what we call key performance indicators, which is going to tell us how well we're doing in providing services and programs to our residents. Those KPIs are regularly updated and will be available on a dashboard on our website. And our leadership team is reviewing each department's performance regularly at meetings that we call OakStat sessions, which tells us basically what's working well and what needs improvement. And again, you'll have the same access to the data that our leadership team does as well. So with our first priority achieved in this budget, being structurally balanced, the bond rating agencies are taking notice, and I'm very proud of that. When they reaffirmed the county's AAA bond rating in April of this year, Moody's took note of our significant reserve cushion and strong management track record. And Standard & Poor's noted, I'm particularly proud, that they said that the current management team worked on improving this budgetary practice, I'm going to read this, by focusing on balanced budgets from the beginning of the budgetary process and not just throughout the year. These are attributes that I believe make Oakland County an attractive place when businesses are looking for a place to invest and when employees of those businesses are searching for a new home to move their families. The data doesn't lie. Now, am I still goofy? All right. Is that all right? Hold on. Thank you. Should I just take this one off? Let's just do that. All right. Yeah. Okay, we'll just do that. Thank you. Now, we all know from our own pocketbooks and from what we're hearing from our residents and neighbors every day, we have to prepare for challenging economic conditions. And I believe that this budget does that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But there's also good news to share, and so let me start with that. Even after the county and the country was sent into a tailspin by COVID, Oakland County is on the way to bouncing back. The University of Michigan economists, who annually take a look at how the county is doing, had good news for us this year. We've recovered more than 2/3 of the jobs that we lost during the early days of the pandemic, and we're on a path to surpass pre-pandemic employment levels by September of next year. And of course, something that we can all take pride in, the announcement in January from General Motors was extremely encouraging. That automaker plans to make a $4 billion investment in the Orion Township plant, the largest one in their history. It's going to retain 1,000 jobs in Oakland County and create 2,300 more. I believe that, yeah, for those of, yeah. And that's good not just for Mike's district, but for the entire county and the entire region, because I think that that kind of an investment in electric vehicles burnishes our reputation as a key location for advanced manufacturing in this country, and will help attract others as well. And I think that was borne out by the fact that we've been designated North America's site for the Center for Advanced Manufacturing that's going to come to Oakland County through our partnership with Automation Alley. We should be very proud of that. So, don't get me wrong, these developments are really good news. And although we do have flexibility in this budget, as I said, through ARP funding, and we've received some increased revenue from property taxes because of how hot the housing market has been over the past year, I'm presenting a budget to you that I think is prudent, because I'm well aware that there's a higher level of economic volatility across the nation and, frankly, the globe at the moment. So we've built a budget that's designed to withstand bumps in the road when the economy experiences that. We're using careful assumptions, and Kyle's going to talk more about that, for our revenue estimates. We're going to spend our ARP dollars on one-time investments that won't increase the budget on an ongoing basis. And we're letting departments and elected officials know that they should be prepared for additional budget reductions if the conditions warrant. And we're protecting our rainy day fund from withdrawals. But there's more work to do, so that's why we're investing our time, our energy, our ARP resources into programs to help us prepare, educate, and train our residents and students for careers that not only match their talents and passion, but better steer them towards good-paying jobs that are still in very high demand. So I want to talk about that for a minute. Our program called Oakland 80 Career and Education Navigators had officially launched last week. It provides career coaching and guidance, resources, and wraparound services so that any resident facing barriers to getting an education and training in this county that they need for a successful career can overcome those obstacles. And that program's an extension of the other services we're providing. We're doing things like giving child care scholarships, 313 of them so far. Tuition scholarships through Oakland County Michigan Works. We've done 165 of those already. We're providing everything from bikes and books, registration fees, and wraparound services so that people have whatever it is they need to overcome the obstacles to get that education, and they don't let that education slip and slide so they don't get those jobs. This is a win-win for our residents who can more easily access better paying jobs, and our employers who know that there's a pipeline of available talent to meet their needs as well. So it's not just our residents that we're helping, and I want to talk about our Business Forward program for a minute. Business Forward is a team of 9 counselors embedded in the communities throughout the county, and it's making a big difference already for our small businesses. You know, we've got about 39,000 businesses in Oakland County. 95% of them are small businesses, less than 50 employees. The Business Forward counselors are going to reach out to thousands of these businesses every year, providing them with the resources they need to access grants, information on logistics, accounting, marketing, social media needs, whatever they need to be more successful. Why? Because, and I remember this as mayor of Ferndale, and I think you know this too from the communities that you represent, these are the backbone of our local communities. They make our downtowns and our communities unique and lively. And if we're going to be a great county, we need a great, strong, small business community. So I want to give you just a couple of examples already of what this, to just highlight what this team has been able to do. Cynthia Dane, for instance, she's the founder and CEO of Recipes for a Reason, a business that creates healthier cuisines in Highland Township. Her Business Forward consultant worked with her and was able to use his resources to connect her with Whole Foods and provide an incredibly valuable opportunity for the grocery chain to start to sell her vegan organic soup. Or another example, Total Glamour Beauty Supply in Southfield. They transitioned from being from the corporate world to being entrepreneurs. But they quickly got burned out from the day-to-day grind that comes with running your own business. And they didn't have the time to find the information and the resources that were available to help them. Their Business Forward consultant was able to help, and now they have a refreshed roadmap for the future and, frankly, a new sense of hope. These are just a couple of the ways in which we can help these small businesses and our residents deal with the economic challenges that we're facing. And I want to say we wouldn't be able to do any of this without the support that we've gotten from you, the Board of Commissioners, who have recognized the importance of this need right with us. So thank you for that. So even with an unpredictable economy, we know that the time to invest in these services and programs is now. You don't wait until bad news comes. You prepare our county for possible bad times. So this budget includes key funding for initiatives that align with the goals that I laid out at the State of the County. I talked about Business Forward and Oakland 80, but I want to talk about some of the other programs that you will see funded through this budget. You've heard about the Health 360 program in partnership with Honor Community Health, Oakland Livingston Human Services. Nearly 5,000 residents have already received vital health care and wraparound services in these new locations with these new services. And in addition, Honor Health is going to partner with us to offer a residency program to help train doctors in communities that are in desperate need of more health professionals, access to health care. We've allocated in this budget, through ARP dollars, frankly, more than $25 million to expand and improve access to mental health services to our residents, all of our residents, and in particular to our students. We've included funding in the budget for one of your longtime priorities that I'm happy to support, an older adult advocate who will work to help improve and expand services in the county to our older residents. I'm also excited about our housing programs that you'll see, which will increase the inventory of affordable housing in Oakland County through a housing trust fund and the creation of a land bank and expanded home repair services for homeowners and renters. These initiatives will help stabilize neighborhoods by getting foreclosed and abandoned properties back into decent repair and back onto our tax rolls. Finally, the Corktown Health Initiative, which you took up recently, which is slated to move into Hazel Park. It's going to provide valuable health services for the south end of Oakland County with an emphasis on offering services to the LGBTQ plus community, because we're not going to leave anybody behind. Let me talk a little bit about public safety. This budget also protects the important public safety services we provide in Oakland County and invests in recruitment and retention bonuses for our law enforcement officers. We have too many vacancies at the Sheriff's Department, frankly, and we need to address it. But we're also working on improving fairness in our criminal justice system with programs like the Clean Slate Initiative, which allows people to get a second chance through an expungement of some of their criminal records. More than 2,500 people have applied to get these records cleared. It's a huge number. This is a time-intensive process, but it's a life changer for people who can have a new opportunity. Speaking of, we're also creating the Public Defender's Office. Now, we were fortunate to get a grant from the state of Michigan for $9.7 million from the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission so that every resident in Oakland County has access to quality legal representation regardless of their ability to pay. And we're moving forward with the plan to protect both our residents and law enforcement by getting body cameras for our sheriff's office deputies. Let me talk a little bit about sustainability, and Aaron and I could talk about this all night, but I just want to make sure you know that there are investments in this budget to make progress on our environmental sustainability plans, in particular for the county campus, with an energy efficiency audit of our county buildings that will allow us to save on our energy costs and is a huge component in ultimately reaching our goal of net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. And then finally, I just want to say that we're committed to our diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts with a robust diversity council made up of employees from virtually every department in this county. This budget adds a new position in purchasing to ensure that more minority, women, disabled, and veteran-owned businesses have the chance to bid on county contracts. And the budget includes funding for the Diverse Abilities Program, which provides job opportunities with the county for people with physical and cognitive disabilities. So as you can tell, I'm proud of this budget, but I'm also proud to introduce the next guy who will go into some of the numbers in more detail. I've given you a lot to think about, but now let me turn it over to our numbers guy, the Management and Budget Director, Kyle Jen, for some more specifics.
Thank you, Executive Coulter. I do want to walk you through the numbers. I'm not going to walk you through every number on all 710 pages, but do want to walk you through some of the key numbers in terms of what our approach has been to build this budget. So I'll start with the number that's on everyone's mind, and that's inflation. This chart here shows inflation going back about 20 years. We're now up into the 8 to 9% range as of the last couple months. That's actually the highest since the early 1980s, so fairly unprecedented in recent decades, and that's why we're trying to be as careful as possible in terms of thinking about and accounting for all the ways that inflation affects our budget. Here, I think we're all aware of the impact that higher inflation is having on the personal budgets of people in this county, including our employees and on the county itself in terms of procuring goods and services. It also actually increases our property tax revenue just because of the mechanics of how Proposal A and the Headley Amendment work. You can see over on the right that economists are in agreement that inflation is going to come down. They're not necessarily in full agreement in terms of how quickly that's going to happen and how far down that's going to happen. So we are using the safest possible assumptions in our budget. We are not assuming higher inflation past 2021 and 2022 in terms of our revenue estimates. And in terms of proposing increases in general employee compensation, we're going to wait until we have hard data on both inflation and revenue before we bring those to you as we're bringing the 5% increase to you today as a proposal. Diving into our property tax estimate numbers a little deeper, 2022 saw extremely strong taxable value growth at 6.5%. That's actually the highest number we've had in the county in about 20 years. Last year at this time, we had budgeted for growth of about 4.25%. So that means that our revenues based on this year's property tax levy are going to be about $4.5 million above what we had assumed at this time last year. Going forward, again, we're using cautious assumptions in terms of the housing market, in terms of new construction, and in terms of inflation. We're not seeing a huge decline in housing values or new construction, but we are starting to see things cool off a bit, and we're going to make sure that we use good cautious assumptions going forward. So for property tax revenue for 2023, based on what we already know about the inflation number for that year, we're projecting property tax growth of about 6%, and then in future years, we're assuming numbers that are more in line with the historical growth number of about 4% per year. In terms of a long-term look at our property tax revenue history, you can see even with the higher growth we're experiencing right now, that total property tax revenue is just now getting back to the peak that it was at before the Great Recession at about $270 million. And when you account for inflation, we're actually still down about 25% as those state constitutional provisions have constrained growth over the last 15 years. And then in terms of our operating millage rate, we continue to be affected by required Headley rollbacks, and you'll see that 2022 is actually the first year where that millage rate is going to fall below 4 at 3.9686. So in terms of general fund revenue from all sources, property tax revenue makes up over half of this revenue, but we do have other sources. Again, higher projected growth for 2023 at 5.6% based on property tax revenues, and then returning to more historical numbers between 2 and 3% per year. We have gone through and adjusted all of our estimates on general fund revenue sources, and I would highlight that we have removed $1.7 million in attorney fees that historically partially indigent defendants have had to pay, and that really goes hand in hand with the plan to stand up a public defender's office using state grant funds and ensure that all residents receive a fair hearing in the criminal justice system. So, turning to the expenditure side. This budget, on top of all the other things you've heard about from Executive Coulter, really completes the tasks that was laid out and approved by this board in late 2020 in terms of workforce planning to make our compensation levels more competitive, but also make our workforce more efficient in the process. As you'll recall, our original plan had been to reduce the county workforce through attrition by 7 to 10% over 5 years. A couple of key developments since then are the higher property tax revenues and the availability of the federal ARPA funds to cover our pandemic-driven needs in the short term. So we have updated that plan to reduce the county workforce by 4% over 2 years, which is completed with this budget. We did ask departments and elected officials that had not achieved the 4% reduction target last year to make up that gap in this budget, with the exception that we held public health and public safety harmless. And again, we've instructed all departments to remain prepared that if additional reductions are needed because of something that happens in the economy, we will come back and ask for those at that time. This next slide is my favorite slide. I think I'm the only one, perhaps, who this is the favorite slide, but just emphasizes how we look at structural balance and why it's important. We want the money that we spend each year to be based, for our general operations, to be based only on the money coming in that year, and that our fund balance is used, first of all, as our rainy day fund, and if there are additional dollars available, only for one-time expenditures that have a long-term return on investment. And you can see how that plays out here in our updated 5-year fiscal plan. And FY 2023, our ongoing expenditures are aligned with our ongoing revenues. Our only use of fund balance is $2.6 million for proposed true one-time expenditures, which I'll talk about in a moment. And then you'll see in that bottom line of numbers, as we project out, we start to see some modest surpluses projected that can be used for further investments in the needs of the county and its residents. This chart shows the historical practice of assuming about $30 million in use of fund balance in the adopted budget to support ongoing operations. Now, to be clear, in most years that didn't actually didn't actually happen at the end of the year. However, we don't think it presented a very realistic view of our financial plan and our financial position, and that's why we've worked to get that number down to 0 and end that practice going forward. Our general fund balance does continue to be healthy as we closed out the previous fiscal year at $288 million, which is equal to about 60% of our annual budget. You can see, however, in the table below, some key pieces that need to be removed from that before we get to potential strategic investments. First of all, we're reserving and protecting $120 million for our rainy day fund as required under the revised fund balance policy that this board adopted last year, with an additional $24 million reserved for any potential non-economic risks that the county might face. We continue to hold about $45 million for the final resolution of the Raffaelli lawsuit. So as we subtract those and other required assignments, that leaves us with $59 million for potential future strategic investments. The one-time investments proposed in this budget, again, are just $2.6 million. Of that total, $2 million are for IT development projects, that we continue to do across the county to make sure that our software is up to date and we continue to make county operations more efficient. And then secondly, there's $575,000 reserved to fund a portion of a drain project to improve water drainage, actually on the campus here. And you'll hear more details about those, as those projects are vetted and brought back to you for final approval. So if we pull all the pieces of the budget together, again, our general fund budget is just over $500 million. You'll see that the dark blue slice there for public safety, which consists of the sheriff's office and the prosecutor's office, continues to be our largest category of general fund spending at 40% of the total. As we look out, we're projecting pretty moderate growth in the general fund budget at under 3% per year. Our total budget from all fund sources is just over $1 billion for FY 2023. So now looking out past this budget and some of the things we plan to tackle in collaboration with you, we do see some sizable needs that have built up over the years that are going to need to be at the front of our minds as we think about our fund balance and as we think about those operating surpluses we're projecting for future years. We're just now reviewing the preliminary results of a comprehensive independent assessment of the county's facility needs. The numbers are sizable. The assessment is indicating that we're likely to have to spend over $500 million over the next 10 years to address all of our needs across all county facilities. We're continuing to dive into those details and plan to bring you a plan in terms of how to start tackling those needs in a fiscally responsible and sustainable manner. On the IT front, the large project that's next up in the queue is replacement of the circuit court case management system, which you may be aware is actually over 40 years old, which is pretty remarkable for an IT system. The competitive RFP process to replace that system is just beginning, and we'll determine the cost, but the cost could well exceed $20 million to get that project done. And we know that there are other upgrades and protections that we're going to need to put in place, particularly as we look at the ever-changing landscape of cybersecurity threats. And then finally, just a quick update on the Raffaelli lawsuit. With the approval of the claims committee, the county has pursued a legal settlement with the plaintiffs to allow both the county and the property owners to move forward. We anticipate bringing a resolution to you in the near future to appropriate the funds for that. We've been reserving, a sufficient amount of funds in that fund balance assignment, but you should be aware that will reduce our reported fund balance going forward. And we certainly continue to closely monitor other potential legal risks that may be out there, and will bring recommended budget adjustments to you as needed to ensure continued fiscal stability. So with that, I will turn things back over to the county executive to wrap things up.
That slide, by the way, should sober us up a little bit. We have, I'm just going to put a finer point on that, hundreds of millions of dollars in capital improvement needs identified in the Plant Moran study. We're going to have some work to do after you all get reelected in November, prioritizing, because we don't have, how we're going to do that, how we're going to tackle that, in what order. So that's a sober slide, but we're in good position to do it. So I know that working together in a collaborative way, we will make those tough decisions on behalf of our residents. So I'm just going to reiterate sort of three things that I hope you heard from us tonight. Number one, if you haven't heard it before, I'm going to say it again. We got a structurally balanced budget that achieves our goal of no more planned use of fund balance. It was a hard task. It was a sacrifice on the parts of all of our departments. We're taking a careful approach and using what I think are prudent revenue estimates going forward, so that we don't get ourselves in a bind given the economic conditions that could change. And as I mentioned before, I think this is the most transparent and accountable budget, and our residents will be able to go on the website and see exactly how these programs that I'm talking about tonight are doing. But as I started off by saying, budgets are about numbers, but they're also about people, and it's about making sure that our residents have the programs and the services that they need to live their best lives, right? I think, frankly, we did a vision statement this year that I think sums it up. I want to read it. I don't have it memorized yet. That'll be my goal by the time I come back here next year, is to have it memorized. But that our employees, our residents, and our businesses are valued and treated equitably, and the county's healthy, safe, and thriving communities are magnets for economic opportunity and a high quality of life. That's what we're looking for. So thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to working with you on this plan over the next several months. And I think if there's any questions, we would be happy to entertain those, Mr. Chair, if that's appropriate.
Yeah, there's going to be lots of questions, but
and I know we have all summer to go into the details, but why you got me here anyway.
Gwen Markham and everyone, now you've handed the football over. That we will go through our process and deliberate department by department, and I guess, I on behalf of the board, I think we agree with you that budgets are a reflection of values and priorities, and working together to make sure that every resident and families and communities have the tools and resources necessary to be safe, secure, and able to thrive. So we look forward to working with you and your team, and we'll see you in the Finance Committee.
Yeah.
All right. A round of applause.
Thank you.